All right, so this is a sarcomere, the contractile unit of muscles, what allows muscles to contract. So there's just one individual sarcomere. So there's going to be another one over there. There'll be another one over there until you reach the tendon, the origin and insertion. So we're going to go over the different parts of this sarcomere. First, the most important ones. So you got the blue and the red. The blue, this right here, these are the thin filaments, and that's called actin. Actin, the thin filaments. And then the red right here, that's the thick filaments called myosin. Myosin. All right, so actin is the skinny guys, the red, myosin, that's a thick filament, thin and thick filaments. Now, to make the muscle contract, what's going to happen is you can see these little appendages, these little bulbs, these little clubs on the thick filament, the myosin. When calcium is present, these little clubs are going to attach to the actin, and then it's going to pull it towards the middle. So it's going to attach right here on a binding site on the actin. You're going to see this in the video, and it's going to pull the actin towards the middle on both sides. So the myosin doesn't move. It just grabs onto the actin and pulls it together, which shortens the sarcomere. Remember the adjacent, the sarcomeres nearby, you're going to be doing the same thing. So when you shorten each individual sarcomere, you're going to end up shortening the entire muscle, and that's what muscle contraction is. All right, so some more real regions of the sarcomere that you might need to know. So you can see right here, this is where the thin filaments, the actin, they're anchored right here, anchored to these different protein strands, and that's called the Z line. Z line. So that's where the actin. So from one sarcomere is anchored to the actin to the next sarcomere. That's called the Z line. And then you have this region. This is where striated muscles get their shades, their stripes. You'll have light regions and darker regions. So this region right here that only contains actin. It only contains thin filaments. That's called it's going to show up lighter. That's called the I band. I band. That's the light region of striated muscles. And then just to the right of that, you're going to see this little region is going to contain both thick and thin filaments. Let me get a little shape. So this right here, this region is going to appear darker in the striated muscle because it's got both the thick, the red, and the thin myosin, the blue. And that's called the A band. A band. A band contains both thick and thin filaments. I band contains just thin, so I band is going to be much lighter than the A band. And then you have this region in the middle that contains only thick filaments. And obviously, it's the same thing on this side. And this region in the middle is going to be not quite as dark as the A band, but it's going to be darker than the I band. That's called the H zone or the H band. H zone. Let's put band. H band. And where, like basically the middle where the myosin is connected to each other, that's called the M line. M line. And that can be seen under a microscope. All right, so that's your sarcomere. So you have the light shaded A band or I band that just has the thin filaments, the actin. The darkest region, the A bands, which contains both actin and myosin. And this is what's given the striated muscle its stripes. And the H band in the middle that just contains the thick filaments, the myosin. Remember, it's the myosin heads that reach up and grab onto the acting site of the thin filaments actin and then pull it towards the middle, pull it towards the M line, and that's what causes the muscle contraction.